There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes she no longer needs to explain herself to the world, when her peace becomes her most sacred possession and she chooses to protect it at all costs. This is the moment when she stops seeking validation and starts living for herself. If you've ever felt like the world was too loud, too demanding, and too exhausting, it's time to remember this: your peace is your foundation, and without it, nothing else can flourish. You've spent countless nights crying over people who didn't clap when you were winning. You've poured your heart into relationships and efforts that were never reciprocated, yet the world expects you to keep explaining, justifying, and begging for their approval. But let me remind you, your growth doesn't require permission, and your glow doesn't need validation. It's time to shift the focus back to you. The truth is, you're not here to fit in, you're here to stand out. If people are not watering your soul, then it's time to stop letting them shade your growth. Protect your peace like a queen protects her crown, for that peace is where your strength begins. Without peace, even the most beautiful life feels like a battlefield. Your peace is not a luxury, it's your foundation. It's the quiet strength that lies behind every decision you make, the calm before your next breakthrough. It's the space where your spirit heals, your dreams grow, and your power regenerates. But far too often, people give it away too easily, bit by bit, to arguments that don't matter, to people who drain their energy, and to situations that steal their joy. You are faced with a choice every day: protect your peace or please the world. And all too often, we choose to please the world. You text back when you don't want to, you show up when you're emotionally exhausted, and you stay in conversations that feel like emotional warfare. Why? Because we've been taught to be polite, to be nice, to be accommodating. But the truth is, being at peace is more powerful than being liked. Being calm inside is more attractive than being impressive outside. Think of it this way: if a queen's crown is constantly being touched, tilted, or stolen, how can she walk with dignity? If your mental clarity and emotional balance are always under attack, how can you rise into the woman you're destined to be? Peace is not passive. It's fierce. It's something you fight for every day in the most elegant way. It's saying no. It's walking away. It's ignoring the noise. And it's choosing silence over drama. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine a coworker who always pulls you into gossip. It's tempting. It feels like connection for a moment, but afterward you're drained, distracted, and disconnected from your goals. That's the cost you pay every time you trade your peace for momentary approval. But imagine this instead. You walk away from the conversation, put on your headphones, dive into your work. You sip your coffee, breathe deep, and smile. Not because life is perfect, but because you chose you. You chose solitude. You chose growth. You chose to walk away from what no longer serves you. Now let's talk about relationships. Have you ever stayed in a situation that felt like emotional warfare? One day they love you, the next they ghost you. It's like walking on a tightrope every day, never knowing if you'll fall. You lose sleep, lose focus, and lose pieces of yourself trying to hold on to someone who doesn't even know how to hold space for you. That, my friend, is the peace tax. It's expensive. But when you choose to walk away, not because you don't love them, but because you love yourself more, that's when your crown starts to shine again. It's not a reflection of weakness, but of strength. Even in social media, we see the pressure to compare, shrink, and criticize ourselves over filtered, distorted realities. How many times have you scrolled through your feed and felt like you were falling behind, as if your life wasn't measuring up? The truth is, we're comparing ourselves to illusions, not reality. Protect your peace even on social media. Unfollow the accounts that trigger you. Block the negativity that belittles you. You don't owe anyone access to your mind. Peace is a boundary, and not everyone deserves to cross it. Your environment plays a huge role in your peace. If your mornings start with chaos, you carry that into your day. But if they start with stillness, intention, and focus, you become unstoppable. Guard your mornings like a queen guards her first breath of the day. Play uplifting music, light a candle, breathe, and journal. Don't let notifications rob you before you've even risen. Every single day you wear an invisible crown. Whether you see it or not, it's there through the stress, through the noise, and through the people who can't handle your light. It's your job to hold it high, to wear it with grace, and to walk with power, because when your peace is protected, your power is undeniable. Think of that coworker who always brings negativity into your space. You don't have to entertain it. You can choose to rise above it and stay focused on your journey. Let them talk. Let them try to drag you down with their chaos. The power lies in your ability to stay calm and carry on. Because when your peace is untouchable, your energy becomes unshakable. Silence is a superpower. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, the one who remains calm becomes magnetic. Silence is not emptiness, it's presence. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. The loudest voice in the room doesn't always hold the most power. It's often the one who sits back, observes, and responds with precision that truly changes the game. Think about how many times you've said something in anger only to regret it later. How many times have you poured your soul out to someone who wasn't even listening? Or responded instantly to a text that deserved nothing but silence? Silence protects your dignity. It guards your energy. It keeps your power intact when everything else is trying to pull it apart. Picture yourself in an argument with someone who just wants to win, not understand. They yell, twist your words, provoke you, and your heart races. Your face flushes and your mind blanks with rage. But instead of clapping back, you take a breath and walk away. That's power. That's control. You didn't lose your peace to prove a point. You didn't sacrifice yourself, respect for temporary satisfaction. You chose silence, and in that moment, you won, not them. Silence isn't about what you don't say, it's about what you no longer feel the need to explain. Imagine a woman working in a toxic environment, constantly underestimated and spoken over in meetings. She could fight back with words, but instead, she lets her work speak. She keeps building, keeps shining, and keeps showing up, not with noise, but with undeniable results. Weeks pass, and suddenly, everyone starts noticing her, not because she demanded attention, but because her silence became undeniable strength. Her presence spoke louder than their opinions. Now, let's talk about heartbreak. When someone ghosts you or disrespects your love, you feel the urge to call, to explain, to ask why. But you choose silence instead. You stop chasing closure, stop rewriting your value based on their actions. In that stillness, you find yourself again, you glow again, you rise again. Because nothing terrifies a person more than the silence of someone who has finally decided to value themselves. Even on social media, people post their lives, their thoughts, and their drama. But there's something so powerful about being unbothered. You don't need to post everything, and you certainly don't need to respond to every troll. You keep living, you keep moving, and your silence becomes louder than any caption. It's not about avoiding the noise, it's about not letting it steal your peace. Imagine a woman who's been betrayed. Friends turned into strangers, love turned into lessons. She could expose them, shame them, or scream her side of the story, but she chooses silence. Not because she's weak, but because she's done. Done playing small, done explaining herself, and done trying to fix what wasn't meant for her. The beauty of it all is that her silence becomes her rebirth. The world watches as she transforms, and those who doubted her can't look away. Growth in silence is louder than any apology or explanation ever could be. Silence is not about staying quiet. It's about speaking only when it's necessary, about knowing your worth so deeply that not everything deserves your voice. Because your voice is valuable, your energy is sacred, and your peace is non-negotiable. Once you understand this, silence doesn't feel like a void. It feels like power. A power that doesn't react but rises. A power that doesn't prove itself but performs. Cutting off the noise, even if it's familiar, is one of the hardest lessons in personal growth. The most dangerous noise doesn't always come from strangers. It comes from the people closest to you, the ones who've known you forever, but whose limitations no longer align with your vision. Imagine a young woman trying to build her own business. She's excited, full of ideas, and working late nights, pushing through fear. But every time she shares her vision with her old friends, they laugh it off, telling her, "Come on, nobody's going to buy that. Just get a normal job." And because she loves them, she listens. Because their voices are familiar, she starts to doubt herself. But that's the noise. The noise that sounds like love, but feels like a leash. One day, she realizes that their comfort zone isn't her destination. That's when she makes the hardest choice. She distances herself. She stops oversharing. And she surrounds herself with dreamers instead of doubters. That's when she starts rising, not because the circumstances changed, but because the noise disappeared. You see, growth isn't always about changing the world around you. It's about changing the space you allow into your life. When you remove the noise, whether it's negative people, limiting beliefs, or toxic habits, you create the space for your own transformation. And that's when you truly begin to soar. Let's talk about family. You want to make a life choice, move abroad, start over, marry someone they don't approve of, or simply choose solitude for a while. But they don't understand. They guilt trip you, saying things like, "You've changed," or "That's not how we raised you." And it breaks your heart because you love them deeply. But here's the truth. Love should not be the reason you drown in expectations that aren't yours. Familiar voices often speak the loudest in moments of transformation. They remind you of who you were, not who you're becoming. In those moments, your growth demands boundaries, not disrespect, but quiet distance. You choose to protect your future, even if it means disappointing your past. The hardest part is realizing that sometimes your circle can hold you back. Not because they want to, but because they don't see the woman you are becoming. That's when you have to make the decision. Continue living in a box that no longer fits, or step into the unknown and build the life you've always dreamed of. Growth doesn't always mean leaving people behind. Sometimes it's about creating space for the right ones to enter. Think about friendships. You used to talk every day, gossip, party, waste time together, but now you're focused. You want more. You're chasing goals, healing, evolving, and suddenly their conversations start feeling empty. You try to inspire them, but they mock your new lifestyle. And now you're torn. Loyalty or progress? Here's the truth: real loyalty isn't about staying the same. It's about supporting each other's evolution. And when that support fades, you're allowed to outgrow people. Yes, even the ones who once felt like home. Not every home is meant to be permanent. Some are just chapters, and growth requires turning the page. You may feel guilty about leaving people behind, but remember, you're not abandoning them. You're simply choosing yourself, choosing progress, choosing peace. And those who truly care about you will understand that. They will recognize your growth, and if they're meant to be in your life, they will evolve with you. It's not about leaving people behind. It's about making room for the right people who elevate your life, not drain it. Even your own thoughts can be familiar noise. The old narratives that say, "You're not good enough. You'll fail. What if they leave?" These voices may sound like your own, but they were planted by others, by experiences, rejection, and trauma. Just because they echo in your mind doesn't mean they define your path. Cutting off the noise sometimes means healing your own voice, replacing fear with belief, overthinking with action, doubt with discipline. Imagine waking up early to an empty world. No notifications, no distractions, just your breath, your goals, your energy. You journal, meditate, and hit the gym. You don't tell anyone your plans. You just execute. That's what cutting the noise looks like: peaceful, powerful, intentional. It's walking alone in clarity, rather than walking with a crowd in confusion. It's turning down the volume on distractions, drama, and outdated versions of yourself. It's saying, "I'm done explaining. I'm done proving. I'm done shrinking to fit into places I've already outgrown." And in that moment, You realize peace isn't found in the familiar, it's created in the quiet. Cutting off the noise, even if it's familiar, is one of the hardest but most liberating decisions you'll ever make. You're trying to change your life. You've started waking up early, working on yourself, setting goals, but your closest friends keep pulling you into the same old habits. They say, "Why are you being so serious? One night out won't kill you." They remind you of who you were, not who you're becoming. That's the noise. It doesn't scream. It whispers in your insecurities, plays in your guilt, and tells you to shrink so they can stay comfortable. And here's the truth: you're allowed to disconnect from people you love. Growth is personal, and it doesn't require validation. Cutting off the noise doesn't mean cutting off love. It means choosing peace over pressure, clarity over chaos. You can love someone from a distance. You can wish them well without letting them steer your direction. Not everyone who started with you is meant to finish the journey. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you start becoming who you were meant to be. Growth isn't easy, but it's the only path to the woman you're destined to become. You no longer need the approval of those who can't see the vision you've worked so hard to create. Think about social media. You're scrolling, comparing, watching the highlight reels of people pretending to have it all, and suddenly your progress feels too slow. Your life feels too small. That's the noise creeping in, telling you that you're behind, that you're not enough. But none of it is real. Most of what you see online is performance, not truth. The real growth happens in the background, in silence, in discipline, in the spaces no one sees. You have to mute the noise of the world to hear the whispers of your soul. The more you feed into the comparisons, the more you lose sight of your unique path. The key is to stop measuring your worth based on others' timelines, posts, or lifestyles. Your growth doesn't need to be validated by likes, shares, or comments. It's in the quiet moments when you focus on yourself, on your goals, on your journey. True peace comes from aligning with who you are, not who others expect you to be. Let their distractions be their problem. You are on a path that is uniquely yours, and nothing should take you off course. Even your own thoughts can betray you. The inner critic that replays past failures, missed chances, and heartbreaks. It's familiar, so you believe it. But it's still noise. You are not your past. You are not your fear. You are not the version of yourself that others remember. You are allowed to reinvent yourself, to restart, and to rise without explanation. Cutting off the noise sometimes means healing your own voice. Replacing fear with belief, replacing overthinking with action, and replacing doubt with discipline. Imagine this: you wake up early, and the world is still. No notifications, no opinions. Just your breath, your goals, your energy. You journal, meditate, maybe hit the gym. You don't tell anyone your plans. You just execute. That's what cutting off the noise looks like. Peaceful, powerful, intentional. It's walking alone in clarity rather than walking with a crowd in confusion. It's turning down the volume on distractions, drama, and outdated versions of yourself. It's saying, "I'm done explaining. I'm done proving. I'm done shrinking to fit into places I've already outgrown." And in that moment, you realize that peace isn't found in the familiar. It's created in the quiet. You are not meant to stay in the same place forever. Growth isn't easy, and it's not always glamorous. It's gritty, uncomfortable, and at times it feels like the world is trying to drag you back. But in those moments, remember this, you don't need permission to evolve. You don't need anyone's approval to step into your greatness. When you start to change, people will notice. And they'll either support you or they'll pull away. But the ones who pull away, let them. They aren't meant to go where you're going. The ones who support you, they're the ones who understand the power of evolution. They get it. And they will walk beside you, not because they have to, but because they believe in you. So don't be afraid to leave the past behind, even if it means leaving people behind. You're not being cruel. You're just stepping into your truth, and that truth requires space for growth. Now, let's talk about expectations. Society has a lot of them. The world tells you what you should do, how you should live, and who you should be. But the reality is, their expectations are just noise. They don't see the vision you hold for your life. They don't understand the fire burning inside you. And that's okay. You don't need their approval to make your dreams a reality. Whether they agree with your choices or not, it's your life, and your evolution is your responsibility. You can't let the world's standards define your worth. What matters is your own growth. What matters is how you feel about yourself when you wake up every day and look in the mirror. If you're proud of the person you're becoming, that's all that matters. Don't let anyone make you shrink just to make them feel comfortable. Imagine a woman who was once broken, insecure, and quiet in rooms where she should have roared. But something in her shifted, not overnight, but moment by moment. She started journaling, meditating, learning healing. She became obsessed with her evolution, not because she hated who she was, but because she knew who she could become. She wasn't chasing perfection, she was chasing alignment. The deeper she went into her own growth, the less attention she needed from the world. She didn't need applause anymore. She became the show. Her growth was her glow, and the more she focused on her own journey, the less she cared about anyone else's opinions. That woman didn't just evolve, she became unstoppable. She became the force she was always meant to be. And so can you. When you prioritize your evolution, everything else starts to fall into place. The noise you hear doesn't always come from the outside. Sometimes it's the sound of your own doubts, your inner critic telling you that you're not good enough or that you're too late. But what if you decided to silence those voices? What if you chose to believe in your own power, in your own worth, and stop letting fear dictate your choices? The truth is, the more you listen to the noise, the further you stray from the path you're meant to walk. That's why silence is so powerful. It's in those quiet moments, when you tune out the distractions and focus on your inner voice, that you truly find your strength. You don't need to keep justifying your journey to anyone. You don't need to explain your decisions. When you walk in silence, you walk with power, and that power speaks for itself. You're not meant to shrink just to make others feel comfortable. The world will try to make you feel like you're too much, too loud, too ambitious, too independent, too successful. But none of that is your problem. You are not too much. You're exactly what the world needs. There's nothing wrong with taking up space, with being unapologetically yourself, with shining so brightly that others can't help but see your glow. You're not here to play small. You're here to make an impact. And when you start owning your power, that's when the world starts to take notice. But remember, don't dim your light for anyone. Your glow is not for them to handle. It's for you to embrace and for you to share with the world. Imagine this: you're working towards your dreams, staying focused on your growth, and then suddenly you hit a roadblock. It's not easy. You feel stuck. But in that moment, you don't give up. You don't quit. You take a deep breath and remind yourself why you started. The road to success is never a straight line. There will be detours, challenges, and setbacks. But with each challenge, you grow stronger, you learn more, you evolve. And that's the beauty of it. It's not about the destination. It's about the person you become along the way. The woman who faces adversity with courage. The woman who refuses to stay down when life knocks her down. That's who you're becoming. And every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you deserve. The journey to your best self isn't always glamorous. It's not about instant success or quick rewards. It's about consistency. It's about doing the work even when no one is watching, even when you feel tired, and even when you want to quit. Because here's the thing, real growth happens in the quiet behind the scenes. It's in the moments when you push through, when you choose to keep going, even when the world tells you to stop. It's those small, consistent actions that create massive change. And in time, others will see the results. They'll see your transformation, your strength, and your power. But by then, It won't matter what they think. You will have already become the woman you were always meant to be. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to outgrow places. And you are absolutely allowed to outgrow versions of yourself. Growth is not linear. It doesn't happen in a straight line. And it doesn't happen on a timeline that matches anyone else's. But that's okay, your journey is yours. When you choose to evolve, you leave behind the old parts of yourself that no longer serve you. And sometimes, the people who once meant so much to you can't go with you. Not because they're bad people, but because they don't fit into the new version of your life. And that's not a bad thing. That's progress. You don't have to explain your growth to anyone. You don't owe anyone an apology for outgrowing them. Keep moving forward, and the right people will catch up. Peace doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from within. It's not about controlling the chaos around you. It's about finding calm in the storm. And the more you focus on your own peace, the more you will attract it into your life. It becomes a shield that protects you from negativity, from drama, from the energy of others who can't handle your light. But peace requires boundaries. It requires you to say no when you need to walk away when necessary, and to ignore the distractions that don't serve you. When you do this, you protect not just your peace, but your energy, your time, and your growth. And that's where your power lies. In the stillness, in the quiet, in the peace that you cultivate every single day. Now is the time to reclaim your power. Reclaim your time, your energy, your worth. Not because someone else sees it, but because you finally do. You don't need anyone's permission to rise. You don't need validation to know that you are enough. There comes a moment in every powerful woman's life when she stops asking for permission and starts becoming who she was always meant to be. That moment is now. You were born to stand tall. You were born to walk into rooms and change the temperature with your presence. You were born to glow without guilt. Reclaim your peace. Reclaim your energy. Reclaim your worth. Because when you do, you will be unstoppable. If you've resonated with this message, take a moment to reflect on your own growth. Protect your peace, own your power, and never apologize for who you are. If you found this video inspiring, like it and join us on this journey of evolution. Subscribe for more empowering content and start your own transformation today.